as always, two of my good buddies. My favorite guy, Pete versus Anxiety Pod is here.
No, sorry, you
And my
can't say
other
that
favorite
now.
guy, Massimo, is here. So I got my two favorites here tonight. Guys, it's
You
okay. I
can't
can
say
have
that.
two
Uncle
favorites.
Dave is claiming as his favorite now. You lost that privilege, brother.
Wow,
You said you
Uncle
said
Dave.
Maddie was your
Yeah,
favorite.
Uncle
Remember?
Dave loves you so much. Where is he? He's supposed to show up. He's not here either.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has a free. Everybody, and I mean this. Besides the public, because the public doesn't have it unless Pete shares it, which is Pete. Pete might get mad at me at some point in time and just release the link so anybody can show up at any
You know, I
time.
thought about that too. Listen, you want to go troll Jimmy? Join his chat.
Hey,
Let's
I
go.
would love that, right? But I have learned, right, on Zoom. On Zoom, you can have up to 100 people, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That could be chaotic though, if you think about it.
No,
Like
that
you
would be
can't view
crazy.
everybody's images at once. That'd be insane.
Yeah, it'd be all like a checkerboard, like a checkered board, and a checkerboard, fucking checkerboard. Excuse me.
You'd have to control everyone's mic. I mean, you would need someone to help you.
You would need a
manage
moderator.
you need a moderator.
You need more than just a moderator. You need a team of moderators for 100 people. That's
100 people would be crazy. But what I was thinking was, right, being able to do a live with, not obviously with the 100 people, but the 100 people being in there, but probably like 80 of them being like a live like guests in the audience almost per se, right, where they'd be able to ask questions and chat. Because
you can ask you questions in chat. There's a public chat function actually on the side of your screen, Jimmy.
No, I know that, but I'm saying with 80 people, right? We wouldn't worry about anybody else. We wouldn't worry about where we're streaming to. We would have the audience with us in the video.
You can do them in studio though. You can invite them to your studio where it's a private chat. You can read their questions only.
Pete, why are you trying to make things harder here, pal? That's why you're not my favorite, you little bastard.
or is it that I'm pointing out the fact that this is very possible and you're just not liking that? I'm giving you other options. It's okay.
No, but here it's not possible to have 100 people in here.
You can't have 100 people in here. It'd be chaotic.
I think you can, but you have to sign up. It's like a much higher level than.
Yeah, you got to buy a higher level package. And again, so everybody joining in, right? We got my good buddy, who is going to be on the show, Uncle Jimmy's podcast Saturday. We got my buddy Massimo, who is the creator of the Sober Method. He also has the podcast, the Sober Method podcast. You got to go check him out. He's doing big things over there. He's doing great things, and we're loving it. He's changing people's minds, right, when it comes to mental health and getting sober and coaching, one day at a time, one person at a time, right? And we appreciate it. We give him a 2 thumbs up here at Uncle Jimmy's podcast because we need people like you, Massimo. We appreciate everything you're doing. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
and tonight we're just going to free fly, right? We're just going to free fly and talk us for an hour, the three of us. And then we got my buddy Pete. Pete is the man, the myth, the legend of Pete versus Anxiety Pod, right?
That's true.
Pete's one of the guys that I first met that turned me on to Podmatch, right? Podmatch is great. I love Podmatch. Thanks to Pete, I found that. More guests, right? Great guests. I found Massimo there. Also connection with Pete helped me out. Like, Pete can be chaotic, right? You go watch his Instagrams, Facebooks. He's everywhere. Pete's everywhere.
Yeah.
But Pete is so fucking passionate about mental health. And that's what I love about him. Pete shows you his life 24/7, whether some days he could be spiraling, he could be a little out of control, right? He shows you what it's like. The great days he shows you, the bad days he shows you, right? When he doesn't want to show up, he still shows up. He's also, right, the host of Voice of the Voiceless, one of my favorite podcasts out there, with my favorite, she's the co-host, Maddie Andrews. She's not here tonight, 2 weeks in a row. I'm feeling some type of way. That
She showed up the Voice of the Voiceless for 2 weeks too, so don't feel so bad, okay?
That's all right. I've talked to Maddie just about every day, and we love you, Maddie. We appreciate you. Also, not here tonight is Marin. Marin is the host of what I always forget about it. It's
the Truth Table.
Oh, she has the Truth Table, which is a new one, which is a round table. She's doing great things. And what's the other one? Unapologetically Marin, right?
The Cornbread Chronicles.
The Cornbread Chronicles, right? Yep, she's doing that. And again, what we're doing here, everybody, is on Wednesday nights, we're here, whether it's me and Pete, Massimo, whether it's a group of us. We're just getting down here talking tonight. We don't have a topic, but tonight we're just going to talk about, I think, guys, we should talk about balancing, right, our podcasts and our mental health.
Hmm.
This is just off the top of my head. It's just coming to me now.
You listen, man. You know, I have
Well, look,
no
look.
sense of balance at all.
There we go. There we go. There we go.
I limped
right?
through it. Okay, shit.
You know, Pete. You know,
Balance.
well,
It's
I mean,
balance.
that's the big thing, and that's the big thing. I think
That's why it's a good topic. I mean, right?
It's a great topic, right? Nobody knew it was coming, not even me, because I'm gonna, we're gonna get into the hot nuts and bolts of it, and let's be honest about it, right? So we'll start with Pete first, right, and then we'll go Pete to Massimo to me. So, and if you guys have questions too about podcasting, the guests, the two of you, if you guys have questions, let me know, and also the audience if you do. So, Pete, can you and do you find a balance when it comes to podcasting?
I try. I try. Let's be honest. I've got season 3 already put up already, so everything of that's all done. Already recording for season 4. So I'm figuring the balance out eventually. Voice to voice is still going off. I got a pretty big guest coming up this week, but I do have something I'm working in the backseat. I'll definitely let you both know about when I know more details.
Yeah.
Always got something cooking back there.
Pete always has something cooking. Always.
Yeah.
Pete
This is an international movement, so this will be something a little different. I had a guest come on, so she'll be back on the 27th of July to talk more about this. So I'll let y'all know what I've got cooking on over here when I get a little more details about it. But yeah, no, it's hard to find balance some days, man. Like I just juggle so many things, but I figure it out. Like I thank God for automated systems like Adobe Express, man, because trying to post all those videos would drive me effing crazy.
Big shout out for that. You turned me onto that. Thank God, Pete.
The scheduling system's great. Like I said, I can set it all up. I've got everything set up. All the clips are ready to go. Now all I have to do is voice to the voice list, and that's really all I'm working on now because Pete for Society's already recorded and all everything's all set up to go. So all those are done. So June 15th will be the season finale with the guys from Calamity Comics. Elliot and his artist Alicia came and joined me in the studio. Man, we had a great time. She was really cool to meet and get her perspective on how she does a lot of her artwork and things like that. The book is really good too. If you haven't seen it yet, it's the first of its kind. Has that trigger warning in the beginning of it, which has never been done in comic book history, which is really cool to see. So
I try comic to book on mental health, right, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, right? Because I think a lot of people gravitate towards comics, right? And people that could be struggling, right? You pick up a comic, you read it, it could help you, right? It could help you, it could save your life, could save your day. And again, right? I'm just asking this question. Massimo's next, right? But Pete, I love what you do. I'm not trying to say you have to find a balance because it's your life, right? And I love how passionate you are about mental health. And it's powerful because you live it, you breathe it, right? We all three of us do. We live it, we breathe it, right? But I'm trying to find balance, right, with the podcast because it's tough. And Massimo, we're gonna get to you because I'll go last. But Massimo, how do you find that balance, or do you find that balance when it comes to your life, coaching, and podcasting?
It's a struggle. It really is. I think that when you're this passionate about doing something and making a difference and helping people with their lives and knowing that all of us have come from that, come from the past, come from a past that was a struggle and finding our own way in addiction. And I think that makes us work harder. We're willing to live a little bit. I feel like I live my life on the edge. I'm always like 5 seconds away from screwing up every deadline for the next month, because it feels like sometimes it's just a complete house of cards. And if I miss one deadline, it's just going to throw everything off and I don't know what's going to happen next. I think that getting more and more systems in place. I just added the podcasting, my 12th episode came out today. So I've only been podcasting 12 weeks, but it's taken off in a way that I didn't really think that it would, quite frankly. So, but I owe a lot of that journey right back to Pete.
No doubt about it.
It's been, I went on Pete's show. I think we did our interview almost 12 months ago now.
Yeah, almost.
The episode was released in July, I think, of last year. So I've known
Pete. Has it been that long, you two?
Yeah.
Wow.
And along the way, as I would interview with other people, Pete was always cheering me on. And from time to time, he would say, "Hey, why don't you do a podcast, man? I think you should really I think you have a voice here for this. And I was like, I just wasn't there. And my coaching took up a lot of time. And it was actually my assistant, Jessica. Big shout out to her. She's on the push me over the line. She started asking me a bunch of questions, and I could tell that she really wanted to do a podcast. And so I just said, so I think we should do a podcast. She goes, oh, thank God. I don't know how much longer I could have asked.
You got to bring Jessica on one night. Invite her on.
Yeah, definitely will. She would love it.
Yeah, I'd love to have her on.
Yeah, she's been with me for over 2 years now. So
Okay.
she knows everything about the sober method, and really is passionate about the whole project. So
yeah, we all are. We all, and that's the thing, I think, right? Because I'm so invested in Pete, right? Pete's invested in me. I'm invested in Massimo. Massimo's invested in me. We all talk.
Yeah.
Right? We're all friends. We talk offline, right? And Pete and I are still waiting for you to buy the farm, Massimo.
Yeah.
So we can come out and do the podcast live from the farm, right?
It's happening.
It's happening. I'm telling you.
It's happening.
Pete's
this time next year, hopefully we'll be there.
We'll be there. Yeah. We're going to do a whole week. We're going to do a whole week out there.
Let's go.
We might even just do 24/7, 365 live from the ranch.
just go live on Kick for a week.
Why not? Right? And just show people what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Pete may be off doing his thing. Pete's probably losing it because he can't do a podcast because we're shooting 24/7. Who knows? Pete will have like 7 of them lined up.
I'll have it already pre-recorded by that point. Don't worry, I'll be planned out, right?
But he'll just be prepared as I am. He'll be off on horseback someplace. We'll have to find him.
People will have a mic and friggin' live camera streaming as he's freaking riding the horse on TikTok or somewhere.
That's true. That's true.
And that's the, and I say it, right? We've all come together as a community, right? And a big shout out to Pete because people have no clue. And neither do I, neither does Massimo, the hand, that Pete has in creating so many podcasts behind the scenes,
big time.
The push, the drive, right? And that's the passion that he has, right? And for me, for the question is, I find it tough to find balance in anything that I have passion for. The thing I have passion for usually comes first, right? And it does, because I love podcasting. And I think the greatest thing I'm learning is the how powerful human connection really is. And it's almost like an experiment. The podcast is every day. When you shoot, it's like an experiment of how the conversation is going to go. How much is this person going to open up? Are they going to be willing and able to open up? And, I had a young lady on last night who we had to stop the podcast short because it was so emotional. And I've never gotten to that point of where we had to stop and reschedule to finish the rest of it. She had lost, her fiance to suicide, and her daughter got diagnosed with brain cancer at 12 and passed away at 14. And it was raw. And it was powerful. The both of us were in tears, and it was tough, but it was powerful. And it was the power, powerful of the conversation with human connection and human conversation together. And it was just one of those things where I just didn't feel like it was right as a podcaster to keep going, right? That it was okay to take a break and okay to stop, because I think people need to realize sometimes, Pete, Massimo, we don't do it for clicks, to make money, right? What we do it for is the core message of helping others out, right? Almost living in the service of others. But we're not professionals, right? I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychologist or any of that, but we are learned. This is all from learned experience, and that sometimes can be more than a therapist, a coach, right? And trained professional. And none of us are that, but it's lived experiences. And for me, the podcast has been something for me that's given me so much clarity, and it's been great. It's been awesome. And again, one of my biggest things, and that's the next question, is how tough is it for you guys to say no to somebody to be on the podcast?
At first, it probably was the hardest thing ever to say no. I said yes way too many times. Now it's like I'm really thinking about the next person that's coming on. I'm really thinking about what they're telling me. And I'm going back and looking at certain people and just saying, hey, you're not fitting where this show is going, basically. And I've had to cancel a few people and just like, hey, I just feel like you're not fitting where we're going. Thank you for your time. But with Voice of the Voiceless being a little more open, I can direct some of them that way too, or I meet a lot of people on there that I invite to the main show sometimes too, because, I'm seeing twice the amount of people that I normally am. With that one, I'm seeing 2 people every week. With Pete for Society, it's 8 people every week. So, and then I'm doing a media panels and all these other things I'm doing. So I'll be meeting 150 people when I get back. In fact, the weekend I get back, I'll meet another 150 more people. So I may have some more people to have. But even at those situations, it's like people tell you things and it's like, you're just not going to fit what I'm working with, and it's at first it was like I said, it's real tough, man. You felt like you're obligated to say yes. Now it's like, you don't fit what I'm doing. Sorry. And it's one of those things you'll learn.
Yeah, that's great to hear because I'm struggling with that. And Massimo, for you, right? How tough is it to say no? Are you able to?
It is not as tough as I thought it was going to be because I think I've said no to about half of the people who have asked to be on my podcast already.
Okay.
And it's not a hard no. Sometimes I just don't think you're a good fit overall for where the show will be going, even in season 2 or 3. And for some people, for the message, I say you have a great story. I slotted one person who had a strong story, but I have this perspectives bonus series that I came up with right out of the gate. So it releases once a month. And so the first one was Katie Rizzo. She was fantastic. It talks about her losing her son at 25 to massive addiction. And that allowed an outlet that is framing the overall show. So it allows the addict to see, well, this is the impact that you have on those around you that you may not understand. And while keeping the core message of the podcast where it needs to be, because I'm focused in on high achieving, performing, primarily a male audience that is looking to find solutions to their addiction without going through the traditional, like walking in and having the public know that, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm in a small town, and I really can't go to AA because then nobody will come and see me as a doctor. I'm in a really kind of niche framework. So I have to really make sure that those people that I'm talking with, and I've kicked some people into season 2. I'm like, hey, let's talk in December. I'm going to be lining up season 2 then. And I think that your story will be perfect. And everybody's been very receptive. When I had my first no, I was like, oh, this is going to hurt.
Yes.
They're going to come back and be upset, but they were very understanding. And I appreciated that. And I am on Podmatch. I love Podmatch. It's great. I've been using it. Yeah, I've been using it since the beginning. I've been a guest on over 60 podcasts now myself. So Podmatch has been fantastic on the guest side. And oftentimes I've flipped it. So I had someone who I wanted to guest on their show, but they didn't want, but then they turned around and said, but I think I'd be a good fit on your show because I wasn't a good fit for his show. And so he's coming on my show in July, and I've had it go the opposite way too. So, I mean, I don't know how often you two do guest appearances on podcasts, but I'm kind of finding ways to, I'm finding ways to kind of work it in different directions. So if it's not a good fit, maybe I'm a good fit for your podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't do many podcasts. Yeah. I do my own, right? I would love to, but
amateur hour. You gotta get out there and let people know who you are, man. How people gonna find you? You gotta out there and talk to the people.
My fee's too much, Pete. My fee.
You charge a fee? Jesus,
I charge a fee. My fee is too much. No, I don't charge a fee, but I don't. Again, for me, right? I have so much going on with the podcast that I would do a disservice to joining another podcast, right? In coming on to speak. Because, I tell people, right, I do a deep dive into who I'm having on the show, and it takes a lot, right? And I say it from being able to, do a deep dive into my guest of who they are, what they've been through, if they're an author, if they're a publisher, if they're a, doctor, a lawyer, someone that's in the throes of addiction or beat addiction. So I go through their life and I do a deep dive. And one of my things is if I will branch out eventually come season 3 once I cut back and have more time, because season 2 took a whole different thing. And that gets to the question of me saying no. I wasn't able to say no. So what happened with me was I had the mental health Mondays and then I had Saturdays. So I flipped it around and I started doing Wednesdays. Wednesday spotlight for me. I release an episode on Wednesdays, which is a spotlight, which is an author, somebody that's doing big things, right, in the community, in the publishing world, writing scripts. So I've done a Spotlight Wednesday, which I will be taking away. Season 3, I won't have Spotlight Wednesdays. I'll still have Mental Health Mondays and I'll have my Saturdays, but I've taken that away because I wasn't able to say no. Now I'm able to say no. and stick to my schedule of 4 a week, right? I was doing 8 last season. I do 4 now, but I also keep Wednesday open, between, shooting with us and like today I had a 5 o'clock and then I have an 8:15. So I keep that open for people that reach out and want to talk. And, you guys probably get it in your DMs like, hey, and if their story is important enough,
DMs, emails,
I will emails.
messages.
Yeah.
I get it all, man. I
So-
get it
Yeah.
all.
So what I'll do is those people that I feel that have that powerful story and that message, right? That can, and it's easy because Wednesdays are the spotlights. You can spotlight anybody, right? So you can take that story and have anybody on. Saturdays is a weekend conversation, which usually is a heartfelt conversation, a deep conversation, which is special because it has to be a special person to have on there. You can't just throw somebody on the weekend.
Oh, I feel special now. I'm
You
a
have to.
Saturday release.
You are a Saturday release. And then Mondays is the big one. Mental Health Mondays is a big one. And, so those are the big things for me, not being able to say no and then squeezing people in. Mondays I don't shoot. And now, like, me not being able to say no, I got Mondays lined up and Wednesdays lined up, right? Because I'm not able to say no. But now I'm in the process of learning that. And I found this, new term, Jay Waddle, who's a great guy. We were talking and we had a Zoom together, and he had told me there's a thing called being healthy selfish. And it's okay to say no, and it's healthy for you. Say no.
Always
right?
reschedule too if you need to. That's what I've done. Like I told
Always.
people, like if they get mad, then sorry, then you're just not a fit. You have to understand.
Yeah.
If I can't
so
give you 100% Pete, then I just can't be there. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do 80%. I work too hard at where I'm at now. And, I didn't spend all this time interviewing all these people after the first season of 100 episodes, which is crazy to say for a lot of people. I would tell people that people's eyes later like 100 episodes. I'm like, I was.
Yeah. And an average, for everybody listening, an average podcast lasts 3 episodes. Most people get into it and do 3 episodes. That you just heard that from Pete. That's 100 episodes he dropped. 100.
Most people make it actually past 20 though. So
that's more than people that have been podcasting for 4, 5, 6 years. Some of them, right? And that's the dedication Pete has, right? And that's the great testament to what he's all about, mental health, right? And getting the stories out there for people that need to hear it. In changing, right, one person's trajectory in life, changing one person's perspective, changing one person that maybe, have a friend that's going through it that picks up the phone and reaches out because they heard Pete's show, right? And that's the great thing of Pete's show. And that's the great thing about Pete. Pete is there. Pete's like, and I mean this, and I'm not making a joke. Pete's like dog shit. He's everywhere. Literally.
Love it.
Pete's everywhere. Pete's everywhere. And, I turn on TikTok, Pete's there live, and I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, where does he get this
I'll
time?
be live right after this too for a little bit too. So
Pete's, Pete's everywhere.
Hustling.
And that's awesome. And Pete doesn't hustle for the dollar. Pete's not worried about the money coming in and not coming in, right? Pete goes to his work and does his job, but Pete loves it. And that's Pete's work. Pete's, life work has become mental health. And that's, a testament to who he is and what he's doing and what he's striving for is to make sure that we break the stigma and that for guys that it's okay to talk, right? It's okay not to be okay, but we have to find the balance of finding someone that will listen to us and finding someone that will talk with us. And if not, seek help, right? Seek help. And so Pete, right? And do you have any questions about podcasting for Massimo and I?
No. I think it's. Do you have questions for me?
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's the other way around. I think.
Massimo, you got any questions?
And it happens though, man. A lot of people come to me and ask me that. A lot of people I know started because they came to me and said, "Hey, how do I get started?" And you just run down the list of things, and I just give them an idea. Like, listen, these are some things to consider. Now, a lot of them run away after they see that list, but I'm just being honest with you. There's a lot of work,
Pete, what's the one thing you tell them? What's the one thing you tell them?
Okay. I always tell them the same thing. You got to plan it out. Like you got to have an idea of the name, a logo. Do you have a logo? Do you have a topic you want to be a part of? Do you know what days you want to drop? Do you know how you want to drop it? You want to be audio, video? All these questions you have to have. And it's like people are like, oh, really? I got to know all these things? Well, yes, because consistency is key. So I tell them the time
they're going to need to invest.
It's a lot of time. I do tell them it's a lot of time. A lot of people see what I do and they're like, how do you do it?
Well, I was going to say, you probably in that conversation don't even get to the time because people probably just like, I don't want to do it. Because it's a lot. And
it's an awful lot.
It is. But if you're passionate about it, it feels great when you do it.
Oh, there's times I'll get frustrated. So, yeah, a lot of people say the same thing. They're like, they watch the back scenes. They're like, Jesus, is this what you do? I'm like, yeah, Yeah, imagine doing 100 of them. But most of them were live in the first season. We're all live episodes.
Did you go
So
live the first
the
season?
first whole season was all live episodes, all 100 episodes, including the 100th one was with my friend and the host of Emotionally Unavailable. She actually lost her son recently over the last few months to an overdose. Like shout out to
Oh wow,
Melissa.
I
She's
follow her
great.
on TikTok. I didn't know that.
She's
Yeah.
awesome. Melissa's awesome. Yeah. If you have not, she's changed the dynamic of where her show was going. But I was on the show in the early. It was one of the first interviews I've ever done next to the Podcasters Nation. Was one of the first episodes I did on the first episode where I was going live that same day, like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was up talking to Rory on there, and we were having a blast. We were chopping it up for a little bit. He's like, when's the show premiere? I'm like, today. I'll go live at like 10 o'clock. He's just laughing at me. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, man, we go live, because I was a part of a podcasting network at that time. So I took advantage of everything free they were offering. So like, I'm like, hey, can I do more times spots if nobody's there? Yeah, cool, works for me. That's what I started grinding hella hard. Like I think March, I did like 34 interviews in March alone. Like it was crazy. Like I was doing them every single day, but I was wearing myself out so bad. Like I think Dr. Leah was in March actually too. She was one of the FBI sleep doctor gave me a hell of a run for my money. She was like, you need to sleep more. Your job's carcinogenic and you just stop drinking all those energy drinks. I'm like, well, that's great. It pays the bills. And I forget what else we were going back and forth a little bit about it. But she was a sweetheart though. But yeah, like 34 interviews in that month was I was grinding hella hard.
Now, Pete, at that time, where were you live? Where were you going live at?
YouTube, where the hell was it? Facebook, Instagram. Because I didn't have TikTok access yet. And finally I got it now for my men's panel. I was supposed to do one this past Sunday, but then we got the time mixed up. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rush this thing. We'll just scrap it for this. We'll do it for next month. So next month I'm trying to hold on all podcasters. So I have a few other people that wanted to do it. So I'm going to reach out to a few other individuals. Obviously, you guys are invited to come too. We'll figure out what date and time works best for everybody. But we'll be live on everything: YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch, and all that kind of stuff. So because I got a streaming key from my agency I'm a part of. Shout out to my buddy Snicks over there. He also hosts a podcast called Unboxed Thoughts. Like it's basically his life unfolded. He did it all live and things like that too. So but yeah, I was talking about doing something more like that. Now that I'm planning out season 4 to run to the end of the year, I could start doing these monthly panels where you just invite people to come in and let their voices be heard, and we'll be live, everywhere possible we can be.
Yeah.
We'll just keep adding them as we go to see how much further we can get. So I know with TikTok it's a little tougher because like they're very sensitive, and I'm like, but you want us to be real, but then you want to censor what we do. I don't get it. We're having an actual intellectual conversation. We're not on here telling people to do wild things or it's just, to me, it's just kind of like
we're not
blurs the lines a little
exposing
bit.
ourselves like women do on there, like
Mhm.
skimpy and sending the wrong message. Here we are giving the right message, right? And it may be raw and vulnerable, and they just don't want to hear it, right? And I think too, a lot
I
of the
think their
censorship
answer to
too-
that was that it's because it's a sensitive topic, which I get it, but let's look at it from the perspective of how the conversation is going. Now, I could see if we're on there telling people to do something, we're not telling
Yeah.
people that. We're having an honest conversation about something that needs to be talked about. Especially with suicide rates as high as they are, men. It's like you're censoring us, but you want us to be original. But we're trying to make content for you. Which surprisingly, they don't take down your videos that often anymore. Which I try to test the limits to see what I can get away with that one, especially mentioning the topic of suicide when it came in. Because I know when I was on Marin's show, the Truth Table with them, they post that clip where I had mentioned the statistics of men and suicide, and it's still going. So they're obviously allowing that. So why can't we have a live conversation about this? Nobody's being hateful. Nobody's being rude to people. Obviously be super strict about what you're doing. Somebody is being inappropriate, obviously remove them instantly, be prepared to eject people if you need to, because at that point, obviously I could see, if those things were happening, then okay, the problems exist. But with TikTok, it's a lot of AI ran, and it's like, but then that's where the problem is. You don't have the human element of, these conversations are real. They're not just us talking about a random topic to upset people. And things like that. Those my favorite videos, like I always tell y'all about the ones that when you take your life, you'll get 1,000. I fucking hate those mess things. They're so terrible.
But Pete, think of it this way, right? They censor that, and Massimo, right? They censor that, right? But go into videos and look at comments. Right? Look at some of the comments that are posted.
Exactly,
right?
my point.
I've read some comments that literally say, "Go jump off a bridge, kill yourself." Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can't have an open and honest conversation, right? About maybe it may be suicide, it may be hurting yourself, right? Because some of us have hurt, self-harmed, and we can't have that honest, vulnerable conversation to teach people, right? That, hey, we're here. This is from learned experience, and this is what we experienced, what we went through. So you don't go down that path, right? But they'll censor us on that, but they won't censor someone, and I see it all the time. They're always on videos of like a poor kid, young kid who may be like 13, 14 years old, just trying to show people him riding his bike, and they'll be like, "Oh, you should jump off the effing bike." And I'm just like, censor that shit, right?
Exactly.
Like,
flag those messages.
Flag the messages. Don't even let them appear. And if you have AI and those algorithms, right, it should be able to pick up on bullying.
Oh,
I would, yeah, it does,
You know?
because I get flagged for it all the time when I'm over there and they're live joking around people, depending on what we're doing at the time. Most times I'm just live because I'm trying to, I have hours I have to meet.
You
and
have
it
to
helps
meet,
them.
yeah.
Well, it helps them, but they say you don't have to, but I know it helps them out. So like I really don't mind doing it. It's like, what is it, like 9 days you have to go live, which is like an hour. It's considered a whole day. So there's some days I'm live like 5 hours, but a lot of times it's because somebody comes in there, is talking to me, and we're just having a conversation, and the time just takes off,
Yeah.
But it's just like
Pete, it may be that person that needs that conversation at that time, right? It may somebody that came upon the live, right, and was like, "Oh shit," and they see mental health, right? Pete versus anxiety.
A lot of people. That's how I meet a lot of people. And the funny thing you say that,
Yeah.
because that's how I meet a lot of people. Like I
Yeah.
wander through, I scroll through, and I'm like, I got 5 minutes, so I'm scrolling through just to see anybody new I haven't seen yet. I do this thing where I give out Weekly Galaxies. It's a $10 gift that lights the whole screen up, and I do it every week for somebody. So I'm like, hey, listen, congratulations, you're the weekly winner of the Weekly Galaxy. So I hand it out to them. I send it to them, and a lot of it is what I'm picking are people that have like mental health, don't have big followings, have never had one before, because a lot of people don't get those kind of gifts.
Yeah.
So and it makes their day, kind of thing. And even at that, you still hear some really interesting stories when you're going through there. There's different people. And I've met a few different people going through there, just wandering through random rooms. And that's how me and Marin met, actually, was through another girl's room who was on there, and she was hosting like what these engagement things. Like you go in, you can talk to the people, follow each other, kind of things, and just kind of talk to. It's like a big social gathering. It's chaotic because the chat just flies, but that's how Marin and I met, because someone had known my topic, and Marin had come in and said something, and the girl was like, "Hey, listen, have you met Pete versus Anxiety?" And like every room I go into, a lot of people are already talking about me, already telling other people about, "Oh yeah, have you met my buddy Pete yet?" and things like that. And it's funny because
Pete's here.
Because the girl that runs
the podcast,
Pete's here.
Pete joined us. He's on the live. Pete, no, but Pete, I'm telling you, it's perfect.
Jealousy.
Perfect.
Jealousy.
No. I'm saying, Pete, it's such perfect. And I don't mean this because I don't think you did it for branding wise, right? I just think you came up with the name, right?
He just does it.
Yeah, but
awesome.
I'm saying, I'm
He's
saying
authentic.
his name.
That's the reason I kept in touch with Pete.
Yeah, but
I didn't keep in touch with every person
I
interviewed
exactly.
with. I've kept in touch with Pete because I saw Pete was doing it for the mission. He wasn't doing it for him. He wasn't doing it for fame. He was doing it because he loved it, and he was driven by this mission. And that's why I kept in contact, because I was like, this is the guy that I want to keep in contact with, because he is as driven as I am to get the message out. And that's why I was like, okay, I'm going to be a barnacle here on Pete.
On Pete, yeah. Massimo, I wasn't saying for Pete's name, right? For Pete's name, right? I was saying not for branding purposes. He didn't come up with Pete versus Anxiety Pod for branding, right? But what I'm saying is not subconsciously, but the cool thing is when he's going through TikTok and stuff, right?
Yeah.
People see the name.
Oh, I know.
Gravitate towards that, right? And it wasn't like a branding thing for Pete to sit back and be like, "Oh, I'm going to brand myself so people come talk to me." No, he put the name out, and that's what's awesome about social media, right? Because it draws people in seeing that name, right? What the hell is Pete versus Anxiety Pod? Next thing you know, they're on, Facebook, Instagram, checking out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, checking out YouTube. And that's the powerful thing of Pete's name. But again, you're not going to get anybody that's fighting, hotter than Pete, right? For the mission. And that's why we come together, right? The three of us, and the others that didn't come, that weren't able to make it. I'm not going to mention any names.
I actually have a question for the all-knowing, omnipotent podcast guy there. Pete, how do you go about all the research that goes into?
You know what? I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I really don't research many topics. I literally look at what people are talking about, and I'll have like people send me one pagers, and I'll go off the one pager, and then after that, it's just all me. And a lot of people ask that question too, man. They're all I feel like, how do you mess? How do are you gonna look up what this person? I'm gonna look up what they do, see what they're about, and then we're just gonna jump in this conversation. I tell a lot of people that too. I don't really prep a lot. It's a lot of it's just me. A lot of those conversations are 100% organic. I haven't really researched too much, and things like that too. Now, if it's somebody bigger, I'll do a little deeper dive just so I have some other stuff. This week I've got somebody coming in. She's been a long time coming, but Melanie Goldman's going to be on the show. She's really big in the mental health space, so she's finally got a date. I know we've had to reschedule a few times, so I'm excited to have her come on. So I may do a little deeper dive with her, but a lot of times it's just look at what they send me, get a good brief bio, what they're about, and then we just jump into a casual conversation about it. Now, some of them I've read the book. Like I know the 9-time award-winning author Erica Horowitz, her and her brother wrote a book about addiction and his bipolar that I am currently reading right now that I haven't gotten through the whole book. When we interviewed, it was pretty much, I looked up a little bit of stuff. She has a resume just beyond impressive. And I met her at one of these NPSs, and a lot of them will send you their one pagers and stuff. So it helps. And I'll have it because I have a monitor off camera here. A lot of times I'll take notes of, and I'll keep it here. I'll have my notepad pulled up so people can't see, but I have a notepad with some of the questions I might want to ask, but a lot of them are just 100% genuine me, and it's just, I just like, after all the years of waiting tables and things like I could have a conversation with anybody. Like I could pop in, start asking questions about you, and we'll just start finding things that, you click with and like, okay, cool. Let's jump into this,
It's all the human connection.
You know what, Pete?
It's all the
Pete,
human
you just
connection.
made me feel so much better, Pete, because see, that's how I've been doing it. I was just leaning into. I know you guys are both old enough to remember Larry King and Larry King Live, and Larry King always said, "You don't need any notes. A good interview is somebody sits down and you figure out what they're all about." And so I've kind of taken that philosophy. I get a little bit of background, but most of it is just flow.
Yeah, it's a general conversation. Like I said, that's why I kept it so casual with the show, because you see how it changes versus I could sit here and drill them with questions and you'll get these robotic like answers like they normally get. But it's like, I don't want to. This is the whole reason I'm different than everybody else. I'll go listen to some of their interviews. If I have time, I'll literally go listen to some of the interviews and see some of the things that they've been asked and how they've been asked. And it's just like,
see, for me,
that was the one thing.
For me, when I do a powerful introduction of the people after doing a deep dive, and what I pride myself in is looking them up, right? Finding out who they are, what they're about, right? And I try to encompass their whole life, right? Childhood and try not to gloss over anything, but talk about everything, right? And that may sound freaking cliche, but it's true. And what I do is I prepare, and I can tell you when I have a guest on who's powerful, right? Who is going to be a great guest. Those questions that I have all lined up, I ask the first one and it just turns into a conversation. And I can sit there and I'm checking off in my head all the questions I wanted to ask. By the time we end, it's over. And it started with one question. Some guests, it's like pulling teeth, right? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that.
God,
right?
Those are the worst.
And for me, I prepare, but that's, my style of doing it because we're all different, right? In Massimo, I had the whole look of when Pete ever told me when we were talking, I don't prepare. And I was like, how the fuck do you do it? Right? Because here's my problem with not preparing, right? And to all the guests, people that are listening for YouTube, the reason I have to prepare too is my brain wouldn't be able to function properly because once they started talking, like say for instance, it was a kid that was in a gang, right? So the kid was in a gang and he beats it and he goes on to a great life. Well, once he starts talking about the gang, I'm going to have 50,000 questions about the gang. Like, did you sell drugs? Did you beat anybody up? Did you do any time? Next thing you know, it's 3 hours later and we've gotten through him just being in a gang for 1 week. You know what I mean? So I have to prepare, or because my first 4 or 5 episodes that I ever shot, I didn't prepare. And those conversations were 3 hours long. And I said to myself, how the fuck am I going to podcast?
That's why you were so prepared on my interview.
I have to be. I have to stick to it because I
would have completely spun you out 3 or 4 times.
And that's, and that's the good thing of, and I mean this with, in all sincerity, with someone who's intellectually as smart as you, Massimo.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know, it's one of those where, you know, you can go off on a tangent, but everything you're saying is pertinent, right, to the topic. And it's great, right? Even like with Pete's so informed, right, from his learned experience, from his life experience, that when he goes into an interview, right, he's so secure in being himself that he doesn't have to prepare. And that's awesome, right? Because that's who Pete is, and that's, how, again, too, Pete, so intellectually smart, right, that he's able to go on, right, unprepared, and just
Listen,
sit,
man, I've had
have
a
a
conversation
conversation.
about
It's awesome.
neuroscience, and I don't know a thing about neuroscience.
Oh, and that's the thing. I've heard some of them, and I'm like, now all of a sudden Pete turned into a fucking scientist on this one, and I'm like, he knows his shit, right? It's awesome because it's
it's the guest that makes it easier too. Like Betsy Holmberg and I,
a good guest.
Yeah, it's a good guest will make it easier.
A good guest will make it really easy. Like Betsy Holmberg is a trained neuroscientist, but the way she broke it down, it was so palatable that we spent an hour having a conversation about neuroscience, and I don't know a thing about it until I started talking to her. And it was really interesting because the way she broke it down made it so easy, and we just flowed back and forth. Yeah. And then when you get that banter back and forth with each other, the conversation just takes off. Now I'm looking at the time constantly because I'm trying to keep them within a certain time limit. So I try to cap it at about 45 minutes. Sometimes over longer, like me and my buddy Andy from the Ride Along podcast, we did a 2-hour long session, but we broke it up into 2 parts because our conversation's always together, always long-winded. I think the first time when we met, we did like a 3 or 4 hour long conversation, just me and him just talking about things, and he had a whole list of questions. He's like, "Are these okay?" I didn't even look at the questions. I was like, "Yeah, man, let's ask all these. What the hell? Let's go for it," and things like that too. But yeah, I tried to do that first. I tried to like really research it because I had weekly guests. And then when I went to the pre-recorded thing, it's like I have the one pagers, have people give me a little bit of bio background so I can make the intro, and then we just jump into the thing, and then it's all about the guests because.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing. And I say it too, right, Pete? I said, this is my platform, right? But your journey. We're not here to hear me, right? I'll sprinkle in some stuff and we'll have a conversation. We'll go back and forth, but it's about you. It's your journey, right? So I want to ask another question, right? Because we're getting up against the timeline. And I want to ask you guys a question. What's one of the biggest mistakes podcasters, right? New podcasters focus on, the mistake that they focus on, and make too many times, too often.
The one thing I always hear people say is, well, there's always other people in the same niche that I am. Okay, well, you're a different person. They're not you. You have your own voice. You have your own way you produce things, and then it's the lack of planning for some of them. It's like, do you know what your episode's going to be? Oh, I don't. It's like you don't have enough information about it. It's like you want a podcast, but you're not sure what you want to do, which I did in the beginning. My first podcast, Pete's Corner Store. Hell, I just saw one of those come up on my TikTok timeline from 2023. I was laughing hysterically looking at this. I'm like, God, I remember those days. Like we had the most random topics ever, and there were some where we got out of hand pretty fast, but
pretty quick.
Pretty fast. A lot of them got out of hand really bad, and I was like, I don't know why we posted that, but you learn these things early on. So anytime I meet anybody new, I always tell them the same thing. It's just be like consistent. Make sure you have some kind of plan for where you want to go with this thing. If you're planning a certain topic, try and plan out a few episodes ahead of time. A lot of them are like, well, I want to go live. Well, have you ever thought of the element of what if somebody doesn't show up, then you don't have somebody for that show? Because consistency becomes a big thing. And that's the one thing that Paul, God, what was his last name? The guy that runs Come On Man podcast. He came on the show. And when I met him originally, when he was in the beginning, I said, Paul, can I ask you a question that stuck with me till ever since then? He's like, be consistent. So ever since then, it's the same thing. I was like, I try to be consistent. That's why when I started doing this pre-recording, it made more sense because I could stay consistent. I didn't have to try and sit here and scramble, because there's a few times I've had to find a new guest that I just picked up randomly off Facebook. I'm like, well, let's go. Let's jump in this thing. And it's been 20 minutes before showtime before I've done this thing too. And I've had it and still made it through it. And things like that too. So that's why I went to the pre-recording format, because when I met Gretchen from the Shit That Goes On in Her Head podcast, I was like, that's actually sounds like a great idea. I could pre-record these things. I could do it. It takes away the element of other people getting in the middle of the conversation, because, some of these stories, like we get really deep. Like Jimmy was saying, he had to take a break in that one. Like there's some where I was just like, holy shit, like I could not air this thing live because the context of this conversation are so strongly worded of things that are getting said that somebody's going to get offended and be like, oh God, now, the great thing about being a podcaster is though, is that if they don't like your show, they don't have to listen. It's easy as that, now when you're live, the whole new element comes in. You have the internet that could be a part of this thing and they could say things and upset people, which, I've had great responses for a few people. One of my friends, Whitney, that came on, she said that when she was on, she had the most active viewers and her comment section was just blowing up. Her and then another one, Stephanie Acock came on. She was the one that's writing the script for Bloom, which she's working the funding phases now, but she had this movie about mental health, the way to look at it. But hers, she had a lot of interaction. People could ask her questions and she liked the whole idea of it. I liked it at first. And then it was just like, it was a lot of work. I'm like, you know what, let's go to pre-recording. This way I can plan my season out ahead of time and I can work on other things because it was like consuming my life at the time.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, pre-recording, right? Before anybody, and we'll get to Massimo, before you even go and say, hey, I got a podcast and all that, right? You should have like 5 or 6 in the bank ready to go, so you can right, and then start getting guests. So Massimo, right? You're fairly new to the game, right? Podcasting.
Yep.
What are some of the mistakes that you're making, right, in that you're learning from?
I think the biggest mistake is not having enough in the can.
Yeah.
I'm in terms of episodes that are sitting out there. I'm looking ahead into June, and I had somebody who canceled on me unexpectedly, and now I'm looking at my calendar and going, okay, if I don't get an extra guest in here between now and the 15th of June, I don't have an episode on the 17th of June, and that has me a little bit freaked out. But I think that I might bring Jasmine on the show. She might be filling in. I don't know if you know Jasmine or not, Jimmy, but
yeah, Jasmine. Yeah, I love Jasmine.
Yeah, she's
you haven't met her yet.
Yeah, no. She's in Canada, and actually her podcast is also broadcast on Rogers. Yeah. So she got her podcast going on cable TV, public access across
that's awesome.
All of Canada. Yeah. So she's so anyway, she's going to fill in, I think, and that'll fill that slot. But that was like, okay, I need to do better. I need to be more actively getting more of these done ahead of time. So that 5 number, I think that's definitely, I set out trying to do 4 ahead, but I found that it's more difficult to get some of the guests that I'm trying to get. And had I just said yes to everybody, I wouldn't have this problem. See, Jimmy,
Yeah. No, so and for me, one of the biggest things for me becomes is when I first started podcasting was learning the fucking equipment. It doesn't matter, to me, the mics, everything, right? Everybody's so enthralled with I got to get the top of the line mics, the top of the line this, right? Look, if I could tell you how much
donate it. Oh, the camera is being used by somebody else. My original camera, donate it. The laptop I use,
tell you how much shit I've accumulated, from wireless mics to Bluetooth mics to everything, right? It's not about the equipment. It's truly about the content that you have, right? The stories that you have, the journeys that you bring on, right? The high functioning, people that Massimo has on, right? It's about them. It's not about the equipment. It's not about any of that, right? And that's the big thing I want to tell people is don't focus on the equipment, focus on the content, right? And the mission that you're trying to get out there, right? So, guys, we're coming to a close here. So, Pete, let everybody know, right, before we go, what's one message that you could send, that you are sending to someone right now who's on the cusp of, mental health issues, who's struggling, who's not getting out of bed, who's just completely down and out? What's a message you have for them?
It's better, I promise. You're not alone. You're not alone. I can't say it enough times to you. There's a lot of us out there that deal with these things. Get help where you need help. Don't stop denying yourself the help that you need to live a better life. Because depression can be crippling to you. It can make your life horrible. You won't want to do things, but understand there's somebody out there willing to listen. If you need to reach out to me directly, you can hit me on anything. I'm on everything, honestly. And for that reason, exactly, is to be that person. But, there's so many great resources these days. You can go to the helphub.co if you're looking to where to get started for therapy. There's Lisa Sugarman put that site together really well, 988. You can check out my partner, PsychPal, if you like. They're They're a great helpful tool too. I have a friend that raves about it all the time. My good friend Trina in Canada, she loves it. She absolutely loves the thing. She raves about it to everybody. Oh yeah, I love it. I've been using that app. Pete has a partnership with, and it's not even because I'm a partner. It's because I 100% strongly believe in what Jules and them are doing with this whole thing, and it's great, man. But listen, just understand that like it's okay not to be okay, and you're not the only one. Like, you don't have to feel that way anymore. That's the whole reason that I do what I do, is to make sure people feel that they understand that they're not the one, and there are other options out there if talk therapy isn't for you. Plenty other things you can do.
Yeah, look, and Massimo's next, but I'll just say this before I get to my closing. I've spent 16 years in talk therapy, and for everybody listening, talk therapy may not be for you. I've been doing it 16 years, and for me, it's just surface level. You're not going to get to the crux of the issue. You're not going to get to the problem. And I'll do my closing after Massimo. So Massimo, that person right now, right, that is struggling, right? What's the message of hope you have for them?
I'm going to lean into a lot of what Pete said, and the fact that it will get better, and that there are many of us out here ready to listen. We're ready to help. I say it all the time. It's in every community I'm in. If you need anything, if you are looking for somebody you don't think you have anyone to turn to, DM me. I respond. Mm-hmm. It's me responding. It's not some bot. It is literally me. I am there to help you if you're really struggling. And talk therapy isn't necessarily for everybody. That's the reason that I created the Sober Method. It forces you to look deeply within yourself and do internal work and to think through things. And that may not be for everyone either, but it does work for some people. And that's the reason that I created it. It worked for me. It's what I use in my daily life. It's making me a stronger and greater person every day. And just know that if you really are hurting right now, go look at yourself in the mirror and say, you got this. We're going to get through this together. And pick up the phone and call whoever you can that you feel you can lean on right now. Somebody is there ready to listen. You are important. You're meaningful to this world, and we all want to see you doing well.
Yeah. So before I do my closing, right, because I'm going to end it with the message that I have for somebody, Pete, let people know where they can find you.
Find me Spotify all the way down to iHeartRadio, XL down with TikTok, guys. I'm everywhere you could possibly be. There's no reason why you can't hear me. And just always remember to ask how your day. Don't ask how your day is. Say, hey, how's your mental health?
That's a good one. So everyone can find me, sobermethod.com. I'm on all the platforms, all the socials at Sober Method. There's no reason you can't find me. And remember, your future is sober.
That's awesome. And everybody, you guys can find me before I get into my closing. Uncle Jimmy's Podcast. I'm everywhere. Just look for the guy with the beard and the microphones, right? Uncle Jimmy's Podcast. Let's talk it out. So for me, for that person struggling, right, I want to personally say, hey, I see how heavy this fight may feel right now, right? The weight, the darkness, the exhaustion. But listen, you are stronger than your darkest days. You've carried pain before and still rose. This moment doesn't get to define you. You are resilient, worthy, and capable of healing. I'm right here with you, whether you need to talk, cry, or just breathe. Keep going, because as Pete, as Massimo said, brighter days are coming, and you will meet them. You've got this. So I just want to thank both of you guys from the bottom of my heart for coming on, joining, right? Definitely. As always, two good friends of mine, two great friends of mine that I enjoy thoroughly speaking with, talking with, not just on the podcast, here, not just live, but also, offline, where we were able to talk to each other. We got a couple groups going. We talk personally, and that's what the power of this movement is. And we both, all three of us have a message of, brighter days are coming, right? Stay strong. We love you guys, and I appreciate Massimo, Pete, both of you guys for the hustle, for everything you guys are doing for everybody out there, especially the mental health community. Everybody, if you're struggling, buckle up. It's going to be a tough ride, but you're going to get through it. You're strong. I love you guys. Peace and love. Peace and love. Tune in next Wednesday. We'll be here. Same bad time, same bad channel, same characters, maybe a couple more, but there won't be any less. It will be the three of us, if not. Woo! We're probably still going.